We've all heard of obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, but did you know that there's also something called obsessive compulsive personality disorder, or OCPD? Well, I didn't until a couple of weeks ago. So, what is it, and how does it differ from OCD? That's what we're going to explore in today's episode. Hello, and welcome to Life Divergent. I'm Trina.
And I'm Jason. So, quick reminder before we get started, we are not doctors or licensed medical professionals. These stories, ideas, and experiences that are shared on this podcast are for informational purposes only. Please don't use this as a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult with your own healthcare provider for any health concerns or before making any changes to your wellness routine.
Okay, so obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, is a mental health condition characterized by a cycle of uncontrollable, recurring thoughts or obsessions and repetitive behaviors or compulsions. Now, the DSM 5 says that OCPD is a persistent pattern, sorry about that, of preoccupation with order, perfectionism, and control to mitigate, others, to control others and situations.
So, they have different drivers. OCD is driven by an urgent need to ease anxiety from these restless obsessions, which results in compulsive behaviors to mitigate the intrusive thoughts. OCPD, which I can speak to, is
Mhm.
driven by a sophisticated defense structure within the personality designed to protect against the discomfort of perceived flaws or inadequacies.
So there's a pretty good analogy about the two, and it is that OCD feels like an unwelcome intruder in your head, whereas OCPD feels like a personal philosophy that you're proud of. The following are the diagnostic criteria, of which you need to have 4 or more as assessed by a licensed professional to be diagnosed with OCPD. So
All right.
let's talk about them.
Okay. So the first point is a preoccupation with details, rules, schedules, organization, and lists.
Oh
And you
boy.
might see some overlap here with ASD as well. It's autism spectrum disorder.
Hmm.
But this one, I would say, hits me kind of hard. Details are critical as far as making sure I know exactly what's happening, why it's happening. I need all the details of maybe a thing that's being asked of me. Rules are important. That's how you have order and can interpret and understand what's happening around you,
Right.
what's expected of you. Schedules, I mean, I have just about everything on my Outlook calendar.
Right.
Everything needs to have its place, which all of this is kind of along the same point, right?
Yeah.
Organization. And this is kind of why some people can confuse OCD and OCPD, because organization you'll see in both of those. And lists. You got to have lists. Tasks, things to do. We talked about lists before. Yeah,
Yes.
you have to have lists, goals, sub lists, sub goals, things to help build toward the stressor of having a lot of everything going on. But all of this is for me needed to understand what's happening in my world and to function appropriately.
I used to see a lot of this when I still had a job, not so much now, like in my personal life, or even back then in my personal life necessarily. Although I do get very upset with lateness. I get very stressed. I try to be very orderly. I'm really into rules and details. So again, I just mostly saw this in my work life, which I don't have for the most part now. However, with us doing the podcast, I feel like I'm kind of rigid with myself. Anyway, so the next one, striving to do something perfectly that interferes with the completion of tasks. Jason, I think that you have said in the past that you have struggled with this.
Yeah, yeah, a lot. Because my personal philosophy as is one of the dis- descriptors of OCPD is if you're not going to do something right, why bother doing it? If you're not doing it perfectly, then you're okay with imperfection. And like I don't want to do that. Like just like, okay, here, this is good enough. Now, in some worlds, you need that because the extra time you're spending on that perfectionism might even be as much time as the other like 85% of the task. And you're better off moving forward through quantity with a small emphasis on quality. I've
Like
heard.
that
I mean,
80-20 rule.
yeah, but I don't like I said, if you're not going to try to do things as well as possible, why bother?
Right. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing well or perfectly.
Yeah, but that's not how all of life works.
No.
What's interesting about this one in particular, I remember it very specifically from uh, my grandpa's work assessment from like the 70s
Mm-hmm.
that we found amongst his things. It's like a several page document of a personality assessment, work assessment, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one line in particular that says he should be aware or be mindful of not letting his desire for perfectionism impact his ability to complete all the tasks required of him.
Hmm.
Like I remember reading through a lot of that thinking this is describing me in a lot of ways.
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
Huh.
Are you a perfectionist?
I think that I am. But then, my ADHD comes in and I struggle sometimes with starting tasks in a timely manner. But I will get things done and I will think that they're done. I struggled with this a lot in college when we had what we called 30-page monsters to do, research papers. Um, I struggled a lot with that because I would put it off until the last minute to get them done and try to do them like overnight or over the course of a couple of days. And I would turn them in on time or maybe a little bit late. But they were typically done pretty well because I made A's and stuff, but maybe they could have been done better to my expectations. Um, but part of it was that, oh my gosh, I had already thought about it so much that I just, I had so much of it in my head anyway. So, like, the research and that kind of stuff was already done. It was just the writing it out. So, yeah, pretty perfectionist.
And I do want to touch on, like, as we're going through these diagnostic criteria of OCPD, you might be thinking, oh, that's a lot like OCD. And yes, that is a driver of this podcast today. But we are going to focus specifically on the differences once we go through these. So I gotta remember that and avoid commenting on this as opposed to this, because
Right.
we're just going through points right now.
Right.
Speaking of that, we get into a lot of this. We're talking about work, and the next point or diagnostic criteria is an excessive devotion to work and productivity, and not because of financial necessity necessarily, but it can result in the neglect of leisure activities and friends. That's your workaholic.
Ooh, that was me all day, every day. Going into work early, staying late, just working my butt off and getting frustrated when other people weren't putting out the same amount of work or the same quality work that I did. It used to drive me crazy. I had very high expectations for everyone around me. I expected them to rise at least, like if I were here, I expected them to at least be here. And when they weren't.
And for the listeners, where were your heres and heres?
I'm sorry, what?
For the listeners, people who aren't watching.
Oh, yeah, I did like a measurement with my hands.
Oh, I heard that. That was a cat.
Yeah. She was coming to destroy the baby cat, and so I had to remove her from the premises. Anyway.
So I have worked hard to not be so excessively devoted to work and productivity because you can run into working 10, 12, 14, 15, 16 hours a day and then start making that your habit, and then you're exhausted and you might not either not want to have those leisure activities or spending time with your friends, or you'll stay up late to make up for lost time and then you'll be dead tired and then you're not going to be as productive, making the extra hours feel necessary in order to just get by, and then the cycle repeats.
Right. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my voice today. So then we have excessive consciousness, fastidiousness, and inflexibility regarding ethical and moral issues and values. Yeah.
Yes. This is perfectionism, inflexibility, ethical. Okay, so I don't know why I'm just repeating specific words. But yeah, all of that. I have very strong standards for justice and what's right in the world. And I hold to that. And that inflexibility is absolutely true. And the fact that OCPD says it's a personal philosophy more so than the anxiety relief of compulsions based on obsessions. Nah, this is all me, and it feels like a decision that I'm making. I think I don't remember if I've quoted Captain America Civil War, but there's a line from that movie, roughly paraphrasing, where Peter Parker says to Tony Stark, "When you can do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad thing happens, it happens because of you."
Hmm.
It's like if you can stop something bad from happening, why not? Like I have to. Like, don't like watching people suffer, and I suffer. And if there's anything I can do to prevent it, I will. And I hold to that, even if it can cause some problems. It's hard to let go of that.
You know what I think is interesting about this one particular thing, other than the fact that it kind of overlaps with autism, is that when you and I play video games, whoops, sorry, let me move the kitty. Oh, she's mad. The kitten is behind my monitor, and so she keeps trying to get to her so she can mess her up. But anyway, it's interesting to me that when we play video games together, we tend to play our characters like we would behave in real life. I can never be a bad character. I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I always try to do the right thing, even in a video game, even if
Yes.
I'm missing out on maybe some interesting dialogue or an
Cool
interesting
items.
ending. Yeah, good items or
Yeah.
whatever. I find it difficult to bring myself to behave in a way that is what I deem unacceptable.
Yeah. My first character in games like Baldur's Gate 3, for instance, lawful good paladin. Just
Mhm.
do the right thing, protect others.
Mhm.
Have to.
Right. It's just funny to me how that carries over to just everything in life, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we have the unwillingness to throw out worn out or worthless objects, even those with no sentimental value.
Yeah, that's difficult.
Yeah, like I might need it someday.
Yeah, even though it's a thing you'll never use.
Yeah, I have stuff sitting in a storage unit, and I ask myself all the time why I am paying for storage for things, I haven't seen in like 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm. A smaller example. I have a box of cables for various reasons for a computer. The
Mhm.
things that I've collected over the years. The idea is you'll never know when I'm gonna need it, even though I've had some of these for 10 or 15 years and have never ever used them. and it's based on antiquated technology, and I'll probably but you never know. Like, I
I was
might need
gonna
it.
say some of them might be obsolete by now, but that's just it. You never know when you might need it.
All right, so I do like hoarding things. I was playing
Mhm,
this game called Silk Song, and there's a way that you can get different weapons, and you'll collect items that you can use to upgrade these weapons. And I was hoarding those items,
mhm,
and I could upgrade my current weapon, the one that I really liked, but I kept thinking, "Nah, I'll hold on to it in case I get another weapon." I'd gotten a lot. I thought that maybe there weren't any more to collect because I was kind of near the end of the game,
uh-huh,
but I finally got to a point where I'm just like, there's a limit. I'll just go ahead and upgrade all the weapons that I have now to push toward completionist. I
mhm.
swear to God, 30 seconds later, I found a new weapon. Like, I just like went up one room and it was there. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? There's a reason why I hoard things.
Mm. Well, when we're playing a certain game, Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm like running around with all this stuff in my pack, and I have to keep getting rid of stuff, and it's like I'm carrying stuff that I know from experience of playing the game previously more than once, that there are certain items that I just don't use. So why
Mhm.
am I still carrying them? Why can't I let go? I don't
Oh yeah,
know.
I stress whenever you sell magic items. I just send them all to camp in case we need them.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, we may
Oh
run
well.
into a gold shortage that we wouldn't have if we sold these items we'll probably never use, but
But then it gets to the point, it's like, why do I need to sell them? I have more gold than I could ever possibly use in this game, so I might as well just hold on to them.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, all right, so then there is a reluctance to delegate or work with other people unless those people agree to do things exactly as you want it.
Yeah, and that's part of it. Does kind of tie into the perfectionism, because
Mm-hmm.
you know that they're not going to do it right in your own mind. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's I started so of these 8 points, I have all of them. So definitely more than four.
Mm-hmm.
There are two that it's more about I used to, and this is one of them because I have been able to hopefully use the wisdom that's come with old age.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I don't know everything. When it comes to systems or processes working in a company, for instance, there may be ways of improving on what I know that I don't know about. You don't know what you don't know. So it's possible that even though these people aren't going to do things exactly as I might not have it, I might be able to learn something by seeing how they do it. So I still have a little bit of that reluctance, but
Mm-hmm.
especially with newer people, like, if you don't know what you're doing, just do exactly what I'm telling you to do, please, as I'm teaching you something. There's
Mm-hmm.
a reason why I do things exactly the way that I do it. But anyone else, like a peer, if I'm delegating, or even a manager, managing up is a thing. Just trust their process, trust their judgment, and maybe learn something, or have a discussion about why they did it a certain way if you don't like it.
It's hard to let go though, especially if you know or feel like or experience that their work in your estimation is substandard. So there is that reluctance to let go control and trust. But I heard once that the best compliment you can give yourself is to delegate, because you're trusting that you have done a good job of training someone else to do something the right way or the way you expect it done.
That is an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I'm not
I
saying that I agree with it,
Some would
but
say, not us, but certainly not us.
not us, no.
No, we know better.
Yeah.
No.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
All right. So we can just move on to the next one.
Okay. A
So
miserly approach to spending for themselves and others because they see money as something to be saved for future disasters. That's
yeah,
not me.
no. I look when I get bonuses at work. This is why I look forward to them. This is why I get excited about building up a savings account. You know what I mean? Like, just knowing that the
No.
funds are there.
No, I don't know what
I
you
don't like buying things. There are things that I do want to buy, but it's like, yeah, but it's like it costs money. Then it's like, well, I have the money. It's just sitting there. I have money for a rainy day, so it's not like I mean, I could just go and upgrade my graphics card. That'd be fine. But then it's like, I don't know, $600 or something.
Mm,
And like I said, it's there, but then I'd have to spend it, and it wouldn't be there anymore.
yeah, right. You just never know. I have a compulsion to spend money on Hartley, mostly. Be it Christmas or new school clothes or when she outgrows clothes. Hartley is my granddaughter, for those of you who haven't heard that before. Not Jason's daughter, but my daughter's daughter, and she's my only granddaughter. So, and what I find though is that if I'm in a store and I'm picking up stuff for myself, like, and I used to do this when you guys were little too. I would end up putting back everything for myself because I felt guilty spending money on myself when I could be spending money on you guys or Hartley now. Um, I think it's a strange thing, but never said I wasn't strange.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd hate to contradict you. Not that I could, but anyway. Nah,
Well,
you're good.
I'd hate for you too. All right, and then the last one.
No, hang on, hang on, hang on,
Oh,
hang
I'm
on.
so sorry.
I have been referred to as a dragon because dragons like to hoard gold.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I'll have a lot of references to video games.
Yeah.
There are certain items you might get that, like a consumable item, where this is the only one you're going to get. Maybe it like fully heals all of your party and revives everyone and gets rid of all their status effects. It's like, okay, but you only get this one. Or a better example is like in Pokemon, you get one Master Ball to guarantee catch. I never used it because I only have one. You
Kept
know?
waiting for the better thing and the better thing.
Yeah, and then it got to a point where even when you got all the better things, it's like, well, I if I want to have one of every item in every game I play, then I can't use it. So
Right.
so that's why, like, if I'm playing Elden Ring, I struggle to sell um, the weapons and armor and items that I get. Even if I know my character will never use a shield, I can't sell the shields because I want to have one of everything. Like, that's part of the
Collecting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm a big collector too. I know, and when I was playing Destiny 2, all the people I played with used to laugh at me because they said, "You're a hoarder, aren't you?" Because I'd go to my vault and my vault would be full, my inventory would be full,
mhm.
and it was just always sorting, sorting, sorting.
I mean, I could talk about this point forever.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe we shouldn't though.
okay,
Especially going off on video games. It's not like everybody in the world who is neurodivergent plays video games, and they're probably like, I don't know what these people are talking about. But anyway, all right. Are we ready to move on then?
yes.
All right, very good. Rigidity and stubbornness. Hmm.
Last time I texted someone saying I'm not stubborn, I got a response in all caps saying you are the most stubborn.
Mm,
So, so there might be some validity there, but it's not like just obstinance in the sense that you're refusing to change because you'd have to reshape your worldview. But
but it
it's
is.
no, like I like challenges,
Hmm.
and sometimes if I'm doing something and it's not really working that well, people will try to offer to help. It's like, well, no, I want to figure this out on my own. Like,
Hmm.
well, it's more important that we get this done quickly and efficiently than it is for you to figure it out. It's like, okay, but I want, just let me do this so I can do it. And then it's like the rigidity part comes in to play where I'll do the same thing to try to get different results, and people say, "Oh, well, that's how Einstein defined insanity." But I like to try different variations of it. Like, okay, well, in what ways does this thing not work? Let me just keep pushing that and say, okay, well, I know that this doesn't work in any situation, and now that I know that, I can try something different. So that's kind of where the rigidity and stubbornness comes from. It's to try to understand every aspect of everything that I'm doing, and not wanting anything to get in the way of that.
I think mine comes in if I feel like I am correct about something based on logic, and someone tries to argue it based on emotion or just lack of information. Um,
Politics, am I right?
well, there's that. But I can think of one thing in particular when I was running that business, and that certain person was in the business with me, and we had this whole thing about customer service, and someone had asked if they ordered multiple things for me. I was selling stuff on eBay, and they had asked if they ordered multiple things if they could get reduced shipping. Well, of course they should get reduced shipping because the things are being shipped together, so you're not paying, all those individual shipping costs. So I said yes, and he said, um, well, if you do that for one person, you're going to have to do it for everyone. And I said, or no, he said, if you do that for one person, that one person's going to tell other people and they're going to come and want the same thing. And I'm like, good. That's a good thing if other people come to shop from us. It's not like we were losing money because I wasn't upping the price of shipping. I was charging people what it actually costs to ship stuff. Um, but he couldn't understand it and he couldn't get it, and I wouldn't yield because I knew that what I was saying was right, but he could not understand it. And I got really frustrated. And he felt like I was just being stubborn, and I was like, I'm not being stubborn, you're being ignorant. And I meant that in the best possible way. Just like, that he wasn't weighing all the facts. I don't think I said ignorant to him. I'm saying that now. But just that he wasn't, first of all, he wasn't experienced in dealing with customer service and, trying to build a business in that way. So, but he wasn't using logic, and it frustrated me. But I held my ground, and we did it my way. But anyway,
That makes sense.
I mean, I hope I described that in a way that it didn't make me seem like, just a jerk.
He was ignorant in the best possible way. That
Yes,
reminds me of like Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell when he would like say negative things about people, but beforehand he would say, "With all due respect." It's like you can't just say "with all due respect" and then insult someone.
right. Well, I don't think that calling someone ignorant or,
I
referring
know.
to them as ignorant is insulting.
Yeah, people don't see it that way, but it really is just uneducated on a topic. You're ignorant of X,
Right.
Y, Z.
Right. It has become derogative over time,
Yeah.
taking away from the true meaning of it. All right. So, shall we move on?
Sure. So, OCPD, we gave off the 8 diagnostic criteria. It's a problem because it causes its extreme need, perfectionism, order, and control creates rigid patterns like behavioral patterns, and those traits can sabotage daily functions. They can turn otherwise helpful traits like organization into obstacles that can cause social isolation, chronic stress, and relationship conflicts, which I can confirm that those are things.
Right. And oftentimes I think that this will probably come up, but when I was in my work life and considered a workaholic, which is exempl- exemplary of OCPD, um, I didn't see it as a problem. People used to say, "Oh, you work too much. Why do you go to work early? Why would you stay late? Why do you care so much?" But I never saw it as a problem. But apparently, it is, and there are some core issues that stem from the following characteristics that are related to OCPD.
Remember the analogy we gave earlier. OCD feels like an unwelcome intruder in your head, but OCPD feels like a personal philosophy that you're proud of, which
Right.
we have addressed. We are proud of some of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So proud. All right. So first of all, egosyntonic nature, which means being in harmony with oneself. So unlike OCD, which is ego dystonic, which means in conflict with yourself, which is where people are distressed by their intrusive thoughts. Individuals who have OCPD generally believe that their way of thinking is completely rational and justified. This makes recognizing the problem and seeking treatment much harder because, again, they don't think that they have a problem. They don't see it as a problem. So why would I need any sort of treatment?
Like the eBay story? Completely rational and
No.
justified. I have tried to accept that what I think is perfect logic may be missing information. So I try to stay open to that. And I'm certainly not going to say that I have evolved beyond this such base menial. No, just it's a work in progress. It's not easy to address these things. But
Right.
so
Well, my way of dealing with it was just being removed from the workforce. So
yeah.
There's that.
All right. So another core issue is the impaired task completion and impaired productivity, because there's the obsessive perfectionism. People get so bogged down in the minor details, the lists and the rules, that the main goal of the project, it gets lost or it's never completed. Ironically or paradoxically, the extreme focus on minor details and perfectionism, and perfection, sorry, the whatever throat issue you're having is bothering me now.
I guess it passes through the internet, huh?
Sure. Okay, so the focus on minor details and perfection can prevent people from completing tasks on time. And they may reject help, refuse to delegate, or get lost entirely in making a project perfect.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this a little bit before about when we were talking about not completing tasks and how I would just coast through them at the end and they were typically good enough.
Yes. I'm sorry. Were you going on about something?
No, I was just going to ask you if there's anything that you wanted to add to this.
Well, in line with the goal of today's podcast, you'll see this in OCD as well to a degree, but the perfectionism is more about relieving a stressor, the stress of things having to be perfect or done exactly your way. Like, I don't have that same type of stress for perfectionism. I think it's needed or appropriate, and I want to do it. OCD, again, you feel like you have to, and you don't want to have to. Anyway.
All right. So relationship breakdown.
Yeah. OCPD.
Well, I kind of described how that can happen. Sorry, but go on.
Yeah, no, that was a good example. So yeah, the OCPD can cause the extreme inflexibility, stubbornness, and tendency to micromanage, as we've mentioned. But some people with OCPD can impose those strict standards on their friends, family, and coworkers, which can lead to intense frustration and sometimes social isolation.
Yeah.
I am any and all of the above.
Yes. I think that perhaps, I mean, I choose to be alone and I've been alone for a really long time now. Part of it is because I don't want to have to deal with other people telling me what to do, when to do, how to do. And I like being alone, so it's not a problem. But I mean, one of my big drivers for that is not wanting to deal with other people. I think that kind of falls into the relationship breakdown. Although, again, I don't see it as a problem.
I've tried to relax about this one because, well, I was with someone who was very much the opposite of me, and there were a lot of frustrations, as mentioned, but I kind of got numb to it after a while, to be quite honest. And large disconnects don't impact me as much. So
Well, that's good.
it was a painful experience, at least to get to this point. A relationship that maybe part of me is like, wouldn't have to deal with so much stress if I had just ended a few months in. But you persevere, you learn some stuff, you become better.
Right.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. All right. So maybe that just really kind of rolls into the next one, the lack of self awareness. Um, Unlike conditions like obsessive compulsive disorder, where the person's often distressed by their thoughts, and the individual with OCPD typically believe that the rigid way is the only correct way. And this lack of self awareness makes it very difficult for them to compromise or seek help. So you just do these things. And again, because you think it's the only correct way, you don't even acknowledge for the most part that any of these things are going on. I think that a lot of times it's only when other people bring these things to your attention, like as I said previously, people would say to me, "You work too much. You shouldn't go to work early. You shouldn't work so hard." I didn't see it that way. I just felt like I was doing what I needed to do. I didn't even think about it. And I always thought it was strange when people would say things like, "Oh, you're a workaholic." Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I used to have that perspective of, oh no, you're just lazy, you're not a go-getter, you're not going to get ahead, you got to work hard for that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to overwork for that. And that the perspectives that, I mean, not me, but someone might have had about people who tell you you're workaholic, uh, they
Mm-hmm.
might they might not be lazy people. Those might not be good thoughts. So
Right.
it's just perhaps they just recognize burnout a bit better. Which actually we could jump to that.
Yeah.
Burnout and anxiety. It's constant pressure to meet unrealistically high standards, and that leads to exhaustion, anxiety, and oftentimes depression. And I think on that depression part, it has to do with this routine, this desire to work, to have that dedicated, rigid approach to things. And because that becomes so pervasive, you don't make time for leisure activities or friends, as we mentioned before. And as I spoke on opinion, you can lose sleep over it. And that can also be a strong contributor to depression or depressive thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I know that, like, I experienced a lot of anxiety back in the day when I was working, but I never identified it as anxiety, because when it came to the way that I felt inside, and we touched on this a little bit previously when I was talking about my grocery store adventures, um, I just thought everybody felt that way, the way that I felt. Um, you know, I never saw myself as anxious. I thought I was one of the most chill people in the world, but I was, the go-getter and the just constantly moving and constantly working. And again, even though people didn't rise to my standards necessarily in my mind, um, I still thought that they felt inside the way that I felt. I didn't understand that I had anxiety. Um, and it's exhausting. I mean, I would go home every day after working so many hours, and I would just veg on the couch and play video games, do something that I considered to be somewhat mindless because I was done. And then, of course, that isolation can lead to depression as well, especially if you have any other underlying conditions like I do.
And it might be difficult for people to tell that that depression is there because people with OCPD can struggle to express emotions naturally. So
Right.
they just keep how they feel bottled up. It can be difficult to relax. I know you said that sometimes you just want to kind of veg, but that's not always easy.
Right.
And the part of the relationship breakdown disconnect and how it's tied to emotional rigidity is some people like spontaneity. and want to go out and just do something fun. And people with OCPD might not want to do that. It's potentially dangerous, or it's a little too chaotic. And so it deviates from the structure of your day, which also does have a strong tie-in to autism.
Right. And on the topic of emotional rigidity also is, I'd go home and I'd play the video games and I would say that I'd just veg. But the truth of the matter is, when you're playing video games where you're trying not to get killed, is, very anxiety inducing. Like Call of Duty, for example, running around hoping not to get killed, trying to kill someone before they kill you, or when you're calling in a crate drop, and you're waiting for your crate, hoping someone doesn't find you and kill you before you get to open your crate. It's very so even when you're relaxing, it's interesting how you can choose things that aren't very relaxing necessarily.
Yeah, and that's sort of the irony about the relaxation.
Yeah.
As we were talking about the workaholicness, I don't know why I'm just making up things.
Random words.
All right. Well, you get into that with certain games because there are strategy games or ones that require quick reflexes, quick thinking. So you're picking something that keeps you from relaxing and keeps this part of you going, things that can be driven by perfectionism.
Right.
So it's pervasive.
Right.
Anyway, that's all I got.
That's all you got? That's all you have?
Yes. I was having that internal dialogue. That'd be a monologue. Of course, I don't have someone else in here. So yeah, the internal monologue yesterday, because there are characters in these games I'm playing that will say, "Is that all you got?" And then every time I remember a scene from Resident Evil 5 where one character would say that, and then that would annoy me. And then another character named Wesker, when he's fighting you, he would say, "Haha, is that all you have?" And I'm like, that's how it's supposed to be said. So I say,
"Thank you, Wesker."
I say, "Is that all you got?" Sort of ironically.
Well, that's all I got too. So I guess that is it for today's episode, unless you have anything else, Jason, although you just said you didn't.
I have nothing else.
Very good. So I hope you'll join us next episode when we will be discussing the rise of DIY, ADHD, autism, and other neurodivergent conditions. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.